You know, there aren't a lot of politicians of any kind from any party that would walk into a pack of communists outside the DNC and try to have a conversation. You know, Bernie Sanders, he wouldn't do it. AOC, she wouldn't engage with a bunch of communists, and that's literally their people. But Vivek Ramaswamy is just different, man. He's not the average politician. And throughout this last year, you know, I've done quite a few videos on Vivek. I know that a lot of you guys on the channel, you've been skeptical about Vivek Ramaswamy, but I think he's the real deal, man. And this is actually a pretty funny video to start because the communists are actually selling their literature, which is pretty funny, you know, and Vivek, he buys some, but then they get into a pretty good conversation about Killer Kamala. And this is why I say that this guy's just different.
Of America is the American section of the Revolutionary Communist.
May I take some literature?
You can read it, but it is for sale. That's for free now.
It's for sale.
I know. In a
Communists
capitalist
are
country.
practicing capitalism. How much is it?
Depends. So that's all under $5. Paper's $5.
I think we can afford that.
I would say so.
Let's got my wallet somewhere we can get.
You got Venmo, Cash App. You got the link.
I like this. See, the communists have Venmo. They've got all the digital infrastructure. I like that. Well, we can do cash. What's your best book?
Oh, best book? Well, let's see. I don't want to give you one you might use. Here, how about if you want to know what we're about, brother?
That's good. Absolutely. What's this one about?
This is our paper. We write this and we produce it monthly.
How much is this?
Also $5.
All right. We'll give him a second $5. Sorry. Thank you.
Let's work together.
Cool. Thank you. So, let me ask you. Here's my issue. This is one of my issues with Kamala Harris. I want your perspective on it. I think she has two issues. She has not stated her actual policies, and the reason I respect somebody like Bernie Sanders more than I respect Kamala, and I've said this numerous occasions, I'm not saying it just right now, is if you have convictions, at least stand by them. If you believe in single-payer health care, if you believe in an effective national health care system for all, then stand by it. But why adopt those positions 4 years ago only to back off of them today? I could disagree with you, but at least have the position and stick to it. That's sort of what my criticism is. And my suspicion is there might be some counterintuitive alliances between the so-called far left and actually segments of the so-called far right that want to stay out of foreign wars, that want to end crony capitalism and lobbying and government capture, to say that, you know what, there might be ways where you may not agree with 100% of what I say or what Donald Trump says, but you don't have to agree with 100% of what somebody says to think outside the box and vote a little bit differently. What do you think? You said I am here to listen a little bit, so I'd love to hear your guys' perspectives on why you're here and why you have your own disappointments with the current direction of the...
This is going to be able to represent us. They can't be pressured into representing us because we don't pay their bills, we don't pay Kamala's, Trump's, we don't pay yours, because they all have financial backers. That's why we need a workers' party to take down the two ruling class parties, one that doesn't have funding from these big businesses and is instead funded by its membership.
Yeah, I mean, you realize the convention here, I don't need to preach to you then, but I mean, who buys the sweets, right? Talking about populist talk from the floor of the convention, stand up for the workers and break up the very companies that are sponsoring the whole event, right? So there's a bit of a paradox there. But, all I would say is...
A paradox in what exactly?
Of controlled rhetoric, right? You have a lot of corporate interests controlling the way in which they actually assail those very corporate interests, which is kind of interesting. It is. I think we might be saying something similar. It's all a bit of a charade.
Yeah, I would say one thing that is definitely we're not similar on is you were talking about unification of like the far right and the far left. There is no.
I don't know about unification, but there may be some common threads.
Well, we would say this: there is no perfect American communism, American socialism like this. These other little parties popping up. It has to be international. We aren't here for the success of American working class, because the only way we can be there for the success of the American working class is the international working class in Canada and in Mexico. If you had some, and now we don't believe in this, but let's say there was some perfect, socialist America, it would immediately get pushed out by China, by Russia, by Europe. So we need an international socialist revolution in order to secure a true victory for the working class.
Woo!
Vivek, what are your thoughts?
Here's the interesting thing, man. These guys, they're at least pretending to be actual communists. They don't just want to be American communists. They want global communism. But I don't know. It's kind of interesting. If I'm understanding this guy correctly, they want global communism because in order for communism to be successful, there can be no capitalism anywhere. And I think what he's saying there can't be any better competing system. Everything has to fail and flounder together. But I don't know. It's possible I heard him wrong, but honestly, it doesn't even matter what these guys think because I don't think they're very serious. I mean, the guy essentially said that even if they agreed with MAGA, that both parties are bought and sold and both parties are corrupt, even if they saw that pretty substantial bit of common ground, they wouldn't work together, right? And to me, that just shows that you really aren't that serious about your beliefs. You know, all you really want is destruction. I mean, you're just using communism to get us there.
On reparations for Black Americans.
So here's my perspective. I was asked about this when I came to the south side of Chicago a year ago, and my position on this has not changed, is I'm against race-based reparations because I think it will create more division,
what
not
about
less.
race-based discrimination that occurred in this country for
Yeah, so
the last
let me just clarify one aspect.
Oh.
I think there was a time and place for it in the Reconstruction era. But today, when we actually bring back racial reparations, it actually causes greater discrimination, not more. I think we're seeing a rise in anti-Black and I think other forms of racism in the country. But part of the reason I think we're seeing it is there's no better way to foster racial animus than to take something away from someone based on their skin color.
So don't give Black people justice because it'll make other people upset.
Well, because it's going to create more division and be self-defeating. I think it's actually going to set Black Americans back because it will cause. I mean,
but Black Americans continue to live in that setback.
I want to move out of
I
want to move out of the middle of this just because I feel like. So let me say this:
absolutely.
You're not going to be able to solve. You are not going to be able to solve this problem under capitalism. You're always going to be coming up with these little band-aid issues. That is why the only way to truly get reparations for the indigenous people, for the Black Americans in this country, is a socialist revolution. Is by seizing the means of production and letting that community give themselves reparations. We don't need to be asking for, oh, please, God.
Dude, think about what this poor guy is saying, man. Think about what he actually appears to believe, right? What I hear him saying is that because there were slaves hundreds of years ago, we should all fight to become slaves today. Because people were poor, we should all become poor together right now today. He says the real reparations can only be taken during a communist revolution, which is just freaking amazing, man. I don't think that Vivek realized just how dumb these people would be when he walked over. But luckily, I mean, Vivek, he's got a lot of practice engaging with unintelligent people.
The reality is I came in with no name ID. Most people didn't know my name, let alone know how to pronounce it. I wasn't even expected to make the debate stage. I beat a vice president, multiple former U.S. senators and current senators and governors. So I'm proud of what we achieved. But at the same time, I didn't achieve my goal of receiving the nomination and being the next president. And one of my learnings from that campaign was that there's a lot of distractions along the way. There's a lot of things that'll pull you off of your original purpose. Don't cede to that temptation. So as it relates to the race right now, which you bring up in the Democratic convention, I think one of the things that's missing in this race right now is a rigorous debate on policy. You do get a lot of Democratic criticism of Republicans and of Trump in particular, including even that clip of Bill Clinton that you played, that it's built around a cult of personality. I see a little bit of projection right now, and right now we see a campaign that's built mostly around style rather than substance. And I do think Americans are going to be best served if this is an election built around competing policy visions for the future of the country. And I do think right now that's missing, if we're being very honest, from the Kamala Harris campaign and the Democratic campaigns more generally.
And not from the Trump campaign? Cult of personality? Really?
Well, look, that's why I bring it up. Like it or not, Trump has offered deep policy specifics, from everything from a vision for a cryptocurrency and digital assets framework all the way to his specific proposals of what tariffs he would or wouldn't impose, a clear position on how to end the Russia-Ukraine conflict, a clear position on mass deportations in this country, and exactly what he would do to seal that southern border. You may or may not agree with the policies, but he has offered policy specifics at a level that we have not heard from Kamala Harris. And I do say this, I think it's accurate to say this. I think right now, so far in her campaign, it's early, but I think the media has been covering for her absence of policy specifics in the same way they were covering for Biden's cognitive deficits for the course of 3 years. And I do think Americans are left off worse as voters when we don't get those hard answers. So my advice to voters across the country would be, assume that her positions are what they were when she ran for U.S. president in 2020. That wasn't a long time ago. And if so, we ought to be having a debate about abolishing private health insurance, about taxes on unrealized capital gains, about the Green New Deal. That's the debate we need to be having, but we're not. And I think Americans are less well served as a consequence.
Yeah, right to the point, man. Right between the eyes. I mean, you might not agree with Trump's policies, but you cannot deny the fact that he actually has policies, right? You cannot deny the fact that the man talks about policy basically constantly. And you also can't deny the fact that the last time that Kamala Harris actually expressed some policy, which was 4 years ago, they're essentially the antithesis of everything that Donald Trump believes in today. And I don't know, man, no matter what happens in 2024, honestly, I hope that Vivek plays a major role in whatever happens in 2028. I mean, who knows? By then, maybe some of these new communist friends will actually be ready to vote for him.
I'm curious as to what you're doing here. Are you a supporter of the genocide against the Palestinian people?
I am an American who is actually here to listen to the views of people who disagree with me. Now, one of the reasons I'm supporting a candidate in this election.
Of Israel?
I support the United States, and because of that, I support Israel and our relationship with them.
You support a genocide that has killed 40,000 Palestinians in the last 10 months.
So look, I think that the truth is there was an attack that precipitated it.
No, the
and
truth
we can't
is,
ignore
listen,
that.
dude,
We can't
I
ignore
don't play
that
those
fact.
kinds of games. I'm an organizer. I'm not one of your.
I'm also pragmatist.
I'm not one of these people.
You're not a party.
I'm not an acolyte of yours.
You're not a partisan.
I'm not an acolyte of yours, and I'm not a hack for you or for the Democrats or for the Republicans or nobody else.
I got you.
I'm asking you that you have no right to be here if you're not in support of the Palestinian people.
Well, I think
and if you're not going to call for an end to a genocide.
You have the right to be here.
If you're not going to call
so do
for
we in
an
return.
end to the genocide and an end to the killing and an end to support of Israel, then you should take off. We don't want you here. You're not welcome here.
Well, the good news is we're America, and so we actually get to all express ourselves peacefully.
You get to express being a racist?
You get to express
being a racist Zionist pig? Is that what you get to express?
I'm pro-American, but I believe in your right to speak. I believe in your right to speak your mind.
Do you believe?
Racists go home! 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 Racists go home!
Maybe not that guy. That guy is probably not going to be voting for Vivek or anyone like Vivek anytime soon. But honestly, man, as I watch this stuff, I feel really bad for these people. You know, I feel like on either of the far fringes, man, both right and left, I think there's a lot of mental illness out there on the fringes, man. And I think this guy is a pretty good example of that. And it's kind of funny. I mean, if it can be funny, you know, whatever you believe is happening in the fictional nation of Palestine, it's nothing compared to the murderous power of communism, man. There has not been a virus invented or a war perpetrated on humanity that has killed as many people as communism. But these people, I mean, honestly, I don't think they even know that, right? I don't think that they even have a real clue, but they're going to vote for Kamala. I mean, this is essentially the Democrat base, and this is who these people are, man, and this is what we're up against. And this is why we've got to win, man. That's all I've got, guys. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. If you haven't already, be a part of our growth. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe. Most importantly, share the channel. I'll see you in the next one.